Hi. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna take them off. Much better. Has anything like this ever been done before? No. I mean, there've been drum duets, Buddy Rich and Gene Krupa. I think what we did is new on many levels. First of all, we did it all remotely, so we weren't ever in the same room together. And that's new. Thanks, COVID, And also at that level of complexity, I don't think it's been done before. And very complex kind of rhythmic question and answer scenarios. So at that level of complexity, remotely and live and on record and filmed, no, it's not been done before. It's new, it's revolutionary, new world order, new paradigm, next level. We did it. It's new. We're innovators. We did it. We created something new and exciting for you, drum nerds. You're welcome. And when Chris first asked me, I kind of assumed that we would sort of give each other ideas and parts to play and kind of write a song together. And then I was so busy, I just didn't get around to doing anything for a long time. So Chris wrote the whole thing and made the drum arrangement. And that's good because I can play all his stuff. Had it been the other way around, it would have been a lot more difficult and challenging for Chris. So, no, didn't work that way. So he wrote all the parts and I just played it. And I just listened to it a couple of times, played it. Boom, there it was. Easy, No biggie, right? Lied! I just lied the whole time. It was challenging. Yes, I found it challenging. I do a lot of sessions and recordings and most of them are not this difficult. They're real easy compared to this. I worked on it for about a week. Not all day, every day, but whenever I had time, and he sent the demos, he sent his drum parts, so I knew exactly what he was doing, where my kind of gaps were and everything. And then I had to practice it for at least, I think I practiced it for about 2 days. And, it was a challenge. Those are tricky parts. And especially because Chris had a very specific soundscape in mind. I kind of did my take on it at first and then Zoomed with or FaceTimed with Chris. Yes, I tracked a few takes already here. You can listen to one. And I showed him what I was doing and he said, nah, that's terrible. That's not what I'm hearing. Listen to the demo again. So I learned my lesson there. Creativity? No. Don't do your take on it. No. Just play it like it is on the demo, note for note. And there's a lot of notes on the demo. A lot of notes, very dense notes. Lots of fast parts and complex little bits and pieces. So it took me a little bit to get into it, which was cool because I got into Chris's head. If you really get into somebody else's head and play note for note what they've composed, you learn something about the way they think and the way they tick and the way they play. And it was exciting. I loved it. It was a challenge for sure. And I loved every minute of it. It was great. I like a good challenge, I need a challenge. It's awesome. Most stuff is pretty easy. So challenges are good. That's the way you learn something. It's awesome. I learned everything about Chris Turner. I got into his head. Yeah. It was May 2020. Jules Thomas, who works for DW, connected us. We're both DW endorsers, and Jules probably made the suggestions. She probably said to Chris, hey, Chris, go do something with Lang. She sent me an email, Jules Thomas, and she said, do you want to do something with Chris Turner? He's awesome. Here's a video. Check him out. Checked him out. I already knew his stuff. Checked him out. Of course, loved it. And I said yes, and immediately regretted it when I heard the music. And then we spoke for the first time on the phone in the spring or May of 2020. He said, Thomas, you bored? Are you not doing anything? Pandemic vibes? Do you want to do something? And I said, no, not at all. I'm loving doing nothing. And he said, come on, man. Let's do something. I'm just sitting around here on my butt in Radio England, so I need to get out of my head somehow and do something exciting. And I can't think of anything more exciting than do something with you. He said that. He said that on the phone. And I said, that's weird, dude. Sounds weird when you say that. But yes, I'm in. Of course I'm in. And that was it. May 2020 for the first time. We spoke. We hit it off right away. It's great. Chris is such a great guy. The sweetest guy. Honestly now. I'm not joking. He's a great guy. And an amazing drummer. You know, we hit it off right away on the phone. And we bounced some ideas back and forth. All of them bad. Mainly my ideas. And then he hung up on me. And I didn't hear anything for months. And then sometime in the fall, he checked in with me again and he said, are you now ready to listen to some good ideas? Because I have some. And I was like, okay, bring the good ideas. He sent me a demo. It was a good idea. And I went with it. That was it. May. It's almost May now. So, but the actual work didn't take like a year. The process took a year because we're lazy musicians. We just sit around, we get up late, we watch TV until 4 in the morning, we binge watch everything on Netflix. We don't do anything else, you know? So it took us about a year to launch this thing. And it's really all Chris's work. All he does is skateboard, drift with his Fast and Furious car, and rock climb. You know, he doesn't really hardly ever play the drums. So it took him a year to pull this off. Lazy bugger. Okay, next question. For me, the motivation is always to learn a little bit, you know, something new. That's my motivation. I want to learn something new. I want to discover something interesting and get into other people's head space a little bit and understand how they tick and operate. That's really my motivation. And if it means that I have to sit down and practice something new or learn something new, then that's perfect. That's why I'm doing it. I like a great challenge. I want to learn new things. I want to explore new territory and shine a light on the dark areas of my existence and playing. You know, the whole composition doesn't work without each one of the two drummers doing their part, you know, equally and precisely and accurately listening to each other. It's a friendly conversation that we're having with our feet, you know, at 200 and whatever, 72 BPM or something. It's crazy fast. And I'm honored that Chris asked me to be part of this. Again, for me, it was more like a friendly conversation, a team effort and teamwork. Although he did all the work, you know, I have to say, I was really lazy. And I had so much to do, I couldn't do it for a long time. He was very patient with me, by the way. Thanks, Chris. I had so much going on, and I always had to sort of postpone and say, yeah, I'm working on it. And I was kind of, it was over there somewhere. And then at one point he said, no, I have to put this out. Do something. And then he threatened me. And, you know, he's a buff guy, so I'm like, okay. So I went to it and did it eventually. What I liked about it right from the get-go was the fact that Chris understood that this is a team effort. This is a real musical conversation. This is a give and take. This, you know, one part doesn't work and sound well without the other. We supplement each other and complement each other in this arrangement. And that's why I thought it was really fun and interesting. There was never any kind of a hint of a competitive thought when we spoke about it and discussed what we wanted to do. And that's what I really enjoyed. It was a real musical adventure. You know, you get these kind of testosterone-driven, like, drum sheds and drum offs and drum battles. It's very competitive. I don't like it. I never liked it. And today you see a lot of that kind of upstaging and those kind of drum battles online. And it's just a mess. And what I really enjoyed about working with Chris is that everything was organized. We had a concept, and Chris especially had some very specific ideas, and they're very advanced, complex, rhythmically. It's unique that in this style of music, two drummers are doing this. That's another very unusual and innovative thing. Chris had a plan. It was going to be a composition, not improvisation. and not a drum battle. You know, gorillas behind the drums and like trying to outdo each other. We're playing super kind of complex drum parts, complementing each other, not kind of battling each other, but playing rhythms that kind of work together, like cogs in a time machine. Sorry. The most challenging part of the song was the surgical section, as we call it. It's that kind of back and forth between the two drums, especially the fast foot patterns that kind of complement and supplement each other. I mean, those are fast. I think they're sort of 60 notes at 272 or 4 or something like that. There's some funky feet going on there. That's some fast and furious foot action. Not only is it fast, but you have to play these things super accurately to make sense. It's like in a marching band. That's challenging, especially with the feet. Feet weren't made for playing drums. You know, big drums, bass drums at 272 BPM. You know, that in itself is a challenge and weird. When I first met Chris and we talked and I watched his videos, I realized that he's a drummer who plays super accurately, like me. I like to play accurately. And I like to execute patterns, you know, very precisely and give every note its own space and weight. And Chris is of the same philosophy. We were able to sort of identify with each other's playing style very much so. And I realized that it would become possible to play these ultra complex parts with somebody like Chris. It wouldn't sound embarrassing because you can't do this with every drummer. Not every drummer, first of all, has the ability technically to play that fast and that accurately at the same time. And that surgical section where we're doing these groups of 3s and 4s and 9s and 6s and 8s and whatever alternating between us, that's very complex. It's like a super complex marching band arrangement where you have like 6 bass drummers going and the other guy goes that's exactly what it sounded like when we did it. Exactly like that. Only maybe a little more accurately. Chris sent me some MIDI files. He sent me the bounds of the programmed drums that he programmed and his live drums that he played. So I knew beforehand what he was playing. And he sent me just the bass drum part as a MIDI file. So I could actually see and analyze and eventually transcribe all the bass drum parts, note for note. And I didn't have a chart in the beginning, and I practiced that for about a day or so. And then I told Chris, okay, I'm ready. I can show you what I've got now. And then we FaceTimed, and he said, that's totally rubbish, only in a very polite way. He said, he didn't say anything. He says, yeah, great. And then he kind of takes it 3 hours later and said, oh, maybe, you know, that one group of 7 that you're playing should be a 9, and you know that group of 4 maybe double check that maybe a group of 3. And by the way, those hi-hat 16th notes that should be happening the whole time while you do that, they weren't happening. So maybe revisit that. Maybe I should just transcribe everything for you. And then of course I felt stupid. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? That was totally half-assed. I should really bring the A game for this. And so I sat down and transcribed it. I took the MIDI files, you know, listened to just the bass drum parts, along with the programmed drums on top of it, but isolated bass drum parts, transcribed it all, and made a chart. I still have it somewhere. Where my chart at? I have a chart somewhere. I know I have a chart. Look what I did. Chris sent me the MIDI files. Then I did my version of it. He said it was rubbish. And then I actually made an effort and I wrote this thing. Hello! This is what we call the surgical section here. Okay? This is at 272 BPM. And there's lots of groups of 9 and 5 and 6 and 8, 9 or 12 split between 2 drummers. It's pretty nuts! Look, here. Chris Turner outro. I changed that too. I put some quintuplets in there. Just to mix it up a little. Hey, you don't get many quintuplets in metal, so I threw some in. So after I transcribed the surgical section, I practiced it by myself under Chris's supervision. He checked in with me via Zoom or FaceTime or something every once in a while, and I let him see where I was, and I asked him if I was doing it right. And in the beginning, he was very polite and said, yes, perfect. And then he kept saying that, and I got suspicious. So eventually he said, no, it's pretty rubbish. You're not playing the hand part right, and you're missing the snare drum here and the snare drum there, which was great, because eventually I got it right. And that took me about 2 days for the whole song, to play it sort of naturally and to remember all the parts. That was the tricky bit. The tricky bit was to remember all the little figures. I mean, he wrote the song, so it was much easier for him. But for me, this was all new territory, so it was quite challenging. It took me about 2 days to remember the whole song and play it just from memory and get all the parts right. And, you know, practicing something like this is an effort. You have to be, you know, be able to focus, and also physically it's a challenge, because, you know, this is a fast, loud song, and when you're practicing it, you're literally playing the same part like 60, 70, 80 times, maybe more. So yeah, it was a challenge, but it was great. I enjoyed every second of it. It was really cool. It wasn't hard to do it remotely. It would have been more fun to do it, you know, in person, be in a room together and, you know, hang out and have dinners after rehearsals and stuff. But because Chris and I kind of speak the same language on the drums, we have a similar approach. We both play very precisely and accurately, and we're both sort of into complex drumming and willing to, you know, sit down and work hard and practice on difficult bits. We had Zoom and FaceTime and Skype and Dropbox and everything else, so we were able to communicate very efficiently. I always had all the information I needed from Chris immediately, and he doesn't drop the ball. He's always on it. So he lives in the UK, of course, but strangely enough, he does live in the Pacific time zone. So I'm here in LA, and we have a 9-hour time difference. So there was no problem with me ever, you know, not being able to reach him, because he's always up at night until 6 in the morning. So we were in the same time zone and on the same wavelength musically. So it was easy. It was cool. I never had to wait for answers. It's fantastic. Technology, man. We tried to achieve similar sounds with the drums and also very different sounds. So Chris asked me to find a stack cymbal, for example, that sounds pretty much exactly like his, because we were playing a pattern in the middle of the surgical section where he's playing the 60-note offbeats and I'm playing the 8th notes. And then he's playing all 60 notes, and then I'm playing all 60 notes, etc. So it's kind of one of those patterns. And this would be my stack, and that's his stack. And they have to work together like that, sonically. So he said to me, Thomas, find a stack that sounds exactly like mine. And I said to him, I've got like 400 cymbals, so I'm sure I can find 2 that produce a sound that's similar to one of yours. So I did that. It was really easy. It was like literally the second kind of combination of cymbals I put up. It was like, yeah, that sounds like his. So anyways, but we did pay attention to those kind of details. And then at the same time, we wanted our kick drums, for example, and overall sort of the drum kit to sound a little different, so the listener can sort of distinguish between the two drummers and the two drum parts. I knew that Chris was playing a maple kit, so I went for a stainless steel kit, just to have a slightly different character of sound and a kind of a lower kick drum. And because I knew what Chris was playing, because I had seen his his video before and heard his demo before, I decided to go with a drum set that just sounds better than his. You know, that was my goal. So he played his drum set, and I played the drum set that sounded better. It was that simple, you know, and I made a compromise with the stack. He said, find a stack that sounds exactly like mine, so I just got one out that sounded like crap. And that sounded pretty much exactly like his. So I went like, there you go. And the drums, I just chose the drums that, first of all, look cooler because they're stainless steel and they're shiny and they look slick and expensive. So I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go for those. Stainless steel. They're heavy. They sound amazing. And they're shiny. And he went for a very girly pink maple kit. Yeah, great choice, Chris. Well done. I win the drum set contest, okay? How much time and effort has gone into learning the song for me? It's about an hour to get into it, learn it completely, record it, film it. No, I'm totally lying again. It took me a week of pretty intense work. I do a lot of recording sessions for people, and I've been recording and working, in studios for 35 or more years. And I grew up and started working in the era of analog tape, okay, 2-inch tape, where the musician in the studio had to really perform the song. And if you messed up, sometimes you had the chance to punch in. But most of the time, you just redid the whole take. You started again from the beginning. And you played the song again. And most of the time, you played live with other musicians. So that's how I started recording. And you know what? I like that vibe because it captures something other than just the notes you play. It captures sort of an energy. Because you have to think as a performer, as a musician in a studio, in long ties. You have to pace yourself differently. You have to focus on the music. You tend not to overplay or to experiment too much because, you want to play it pretty safe, but at the same time, you want to make a statement. And that has a very specific energy. You want to execute everything perfectly. And depending on the style of music, if it's jazz, of course, you want to be super creative or super experimental or whatever, improvise, have all these great ideas. And sometimes it just doesn't happen. There's a little thing that kind of bugs you in the performance, so you redo the whole thing until you find the perfect take. So that's how I still work in the studio, despite, the aid of technology and the fact that I can punch in anywhere I want. I don't like it. A lot of musicians today, they're in the studio and they just play, a couple of bars, repeat it until it's perfect, move on to the next couple of bars, and then copy and paste that, and then they go to the whatever pre-chorus section, play that for literally like a bar, and then copy that and paste it. They spend more time editing than they spend playing, and that's not me. I want to play more in the studio. I hate editing. I don't like to edit. It's for editors. I'm a musician. I'm a drummer. I want to play in the studio. So I like to do full takes, and I like to learn a whole song when I do sessions. I want to learn the song that, the client sends me because I want to get into the music. If I commit to something, I'm committed. I learn the song. I play the whole song. I play a full take. So that's how I operate. And that also gives me a chance to film everything, which is also special, I think. Because then, my clients and my friends, people I work with, they can see that I learned the song, that I got into the music, and this is a real performance and not an edit. And Chris is of the same philosophy. That's why I like what he does. He likes to do full takes. He doesn't trigger, he doesn't quantize, or, do any editing. And I don't either. What you hear is what you get. That's what we played. And that's why I liked working with him very much. It's important to me because I'm not interested in a collab with somebody who's a great editor. I want to have a collab with somebody who's a great drummer and takes this seriously and makes an effort and plays for real, And all the sound replacing and triggering and freaking, beat detecting and quantizing, that's for children. Stop doing that. Learn the song, play it. For real. And you know what? It took me 7 takes to play this song. And I'd practiced it before. And 7 takes, of that, is a challenge. I think I did maybe 9 takes or something, or 10 takes total. I can't remember. But it was the 7th take that I thought was the best out of the 10, probably, that I did. But these are full takes. And there's no triggering or editing or anything like that. And the same goes for Chris. And that's why I always like this playing. He doesn't waste time editing. He spends the time practicing and playing the song correctly. For real. This is big dog stuff, man. We're not editing. We're drumming. Have you seen the intro where he's jumping down with the hat on and everything, all buff. He's for real, my friend. At one point, Chris and I were FaceTiming, and he brought up the fact that I had met his father at a clinic in Birmingham. I did a drum clinic there years ago, and I met his dad, who has sadly since then passed away. I met his dad, and his dad introduced Chris to me. That was like, what, 20-something years ago? So I think that's such an amazing story, and that made the whole experience a lot more meaningful for me and really heartwarming, because there's a certain element of sadness and also of somehow, coming full circle, and something very beautiful about the story. Chris won the snare drum that he played on this track at a raffle at that drum clinic. My drum clinic in Birmingham 25 years ago. And his dad, filled out a raffle ticket for him. Chris won that snare drum. Anyways, it's just a great story, it's a beautiful story that this snare drum that he won back then is now on this song. And he's really come full circle. Chris and I will do more things together. We already have plans. We're planning dinners together. We're planning rock climbing together. We're planning skateboarding together, and drifting together. And when I say together, it's Chris doing all those things and me just sitting on the side, probably with a bottle of beer on my phone, watching stupid videos on TikTok while he does all those things. But those are the plans for the future. No, seriously now. We have plans for the future, and if there's ever an opportunity and, the possibility to do any live shows again, then, we'll do this and perform this piece, and maybe others, at drum festivals, in your living room, at your bar mitzvah, backyard party, any kind of fairground event. Just book us, and we'll play Triggered for you. And we won't make many friends on the dance floor, I presume, but there's 2-3 drum nerds in the audience. They're going to remember this. I think this is a good plan. That's what the future holds. Chris, for example, is working on a booster pack for the 9 Beats USA app, which is a drumming app. Tons of content, tons of exercises, drumming entertainment, performances, lessons, and 9 Beats USA is featuring Chris with the booster pack, his approach to playing, his philosophy, his practice plan, insights into his technique and everything. So we're planning that together. That's really exciting for me. So fingers crossed that we can all go out there and play and perform again. I don't remember anything fun about this whole project. No. Gotcha! Acting, man. It's called acting. Funny stories. I mean, oily Chris, olive oil I think is better than baby oil, because just for one small bottle of baby oil, you have to squeeze like 25 babies to get all that juice out of them. So in that respect, I think it was a wise and very humane decision of Chris to use olive oil. I hear it's really healthy fats in olive oil, so he went for the healthy option. It's good. Modern thinking, green, humane. I like it. I don't think anything funny happened to me during this process. I sat here all by myself in this dark room, just went through the same surgical section over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. People out there in the parking lot, they can hear me sometimes. Right back there by the dumpster when they illegally dumped their garbage into my dumpster. I'm sure there were people out there thinking like, that poor man, whatever his condition is, he probably can't be saved. Because they heard me practice the surgical section out there, which goes... It's like that. When you just hear the one section that I'm playing, rehearsing, it's ridiculous. I'll sing it to you. 3, 4... Yep. That's what my neighbors heard for more than an afternoon. Yep. And they increased my rent and my lease immediately. Yeah, I didn't have any fun doing this at all. Sorry. I'm being honest. Massive thank you to Chris for inviting me to be part of this. It means a lot to me that I inspired Chris to become such an amazing drummer. It's fresh, it's new, it's exciting what he does. Yeah, let's do this again. Next time you play my parts though, okay? Because for me it's easy to play your parts, because I can play anything. You know, for me it's no big deal. We'll see if you can pull that off in a year or two. Yeah, I know. I'm sure you're gonna pull it off. You know, if he's super determined, I can identify with that. He'll sit down and just practice the heck out of something until he nails it, which is exactly the right thing to do. He doesn't try to fix it in the mix, you know, and present a fantastic edit of something. No, it's a performance, man. And much respect to you, Chris. Thank you for having me. And I hope you guys enjoy watching this, because it is fun to watch. Even for me, and I played it. Even when I see it now, looking back at the thing, I'm like, this is pretty nuts. And I love it. It's great. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I do. And I had a lot of fun working on this with Chris. And thank you, Chris, and everybody who's involved in the project. You guys are all amazing. And now, signing off, your friend, Thomas. Bye. Here's my pose for when I enter the video game. There it is.